Hi, everyone. Welcome to Here for the Health of It podcast. We have a great show today. We have Tracey McDaniels Miller, and we have Bill McDaniels, who is the owner and president of the McDaniels Auto Group. He owns 8 different dealerships. He gets into the details about his new book, An Unforgettable Ride. He talks about Suzanne's new Scoop of Heaven ice cream shop. He talks about his military service and what got him into car dealerships, and then what he's really passionate about, which is raising over $9 million for charities, especially in South Carolina. So I hope you enjoy. Thanks for listening. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Here for the Health of It podcast. I'm Dr. Randy. I'm here with Dr. Tom. As always, thanks for listening. Everyone who's following and that you've liked our stuff, you can also find us on Instagram as well. Just type in Here for the Health of It. And we have a great show today. We have 2 guests today. We have Bill McDaniels, who's the founder and president of McDaniels Auto Group. And then we have Tracey McDaniels Miller, who's the VP of Operations of McDaniels Auto Group. And I've known about you guys ever since I moved to Columbia. Tom talks about you guys all the time. And you guys are building just like a massive legacy here. Empire maybe is the word that I'm looking for in the car dealership world. And I know you've done a ton of stuff for charity. We've done some golf tournaments that you guys had at Fort Jackson, raising tons of money for the medical community, which is amazing too. So welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on here.
Thank you very much.
So you're a first generation entrepreneur. It sounds like you said that you're like, I didn't get any of this passed down to me. I just started and here we go. So tell us kind of what got you into this world. How did you end up in here?
How did I end up in the car business?
Yeah. Or entrepreneur. Well, maybe car business and entrepreneurial. Because there's a lot of people in the car business that don't own the dealerships. And then there's a lot of people in the dealerships that I don't think they're just investors. They're not passionate about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm very passionate. Okay. After high school, graduated from high school, the next day was one of the most terrifying days of my life because Vietnam was wide open. Parents had no money to send me to school. I mean, I couldn't even think about going to college. But I knew I was going to get drafted because in March of '67, my 2 friends and I, my buddies, we all went to Charlotte and we passed the physical to go into the Air Force. And August the 16th came real quick, but I knew I'm 18 years old.
Right.
Okay. And of course, all during high school, I worked in a grocery store.
Yeah.
The whole time, and usually worked 40 hours a week just to put food on the table because at that time my mother or father neither one of them were working.
Really?
So I would bring home, $20, $25 a week, and I'd give it all to mother just to
Get some food.
put some food on the table and cook. And of course, August came pretty quick, and you had a decision to make. You either had to go, and that was August the 17th, '67. You had to go, or I can promise you within 30 days the Army would have drafted you because you were already cleared to go to the Armed Forces.
Right.
Wow.
And my 2 buddies, I won't call their name because I don't want maybe some distant relative may know who they are.
Right.
But they were very close to me. And I will not use their last name. I'll just use their first name so everybody could be this. When that time came, George had fallen in love with Diane. And he said, I cannot leave Diane. So George was whopping 18 as well.
Yeah.
And then Curtis, my other best buddy, he decided he wouldn't go either.
Right.
Because he says, that's 4 years in the Air Force and it's 2 in the Army. And I said, okay, so what? So both of them took me to Charlotte. George had his girlfriend,
Yeah.
Diane, with him. And, of course, Curtis didn't have a girlfriend at that time. But here is my first exposure to making a decision, because every decision you make has consequences.
Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Columbia Family Chiropractic, with 3 easy-to-get-to locations, one in Forest Acres, which is by Trader Joe's, one in O'Neill Court by the DMV, and one in the Northeast by Sand Hills. You'll be sure to have somewhere near you. They offer a ton of services from corrective care, on-site digital x-rays, spinal decompression for bulging or herniated discs, dry needling for injuries, pediatric care, and a Class 4 laser. They accept all your major insurances. And if you mention this ad, you'll get a discount on your first appointment. Check out their website at cfc4health.com or Google Columbia Family Chiropractic. That's cfc4health.com.
It can be good or bad. So I went on to the Air Force. Both of them got drafted within 30 days. In September, both of them were drafted into the Army. So we'll talk about George to start with. George arrived in Vietnam on November 25th, 1967. His first assignment, go into this tunnel here and see if his mind booby-trapped.
Oh, wow. That's intense.
By the way, it was his birthday. He was 19 years old.
That's so wild to think about.
He never came out of the tunnel.
No way.
We lost him.
And
If he'd went to the Air Force, he would probably still be with us. Curtis,
Dang.
he went on to the Army. He stayed in about 6 months. He thought that, I don't like people hollering and screaming at me, so I'm just going to go home. And I'm going to go back to my part of North Carolina, and nobody will ever find me up there. But they did, and they captured him and sent him right straight to Vietnam. And he had about 3 months left on his assignment, and he worked in supplies. And they were taking the supplies to the troops, and they ran over a landmine on the road. The driver survived, Curtis. His right leg was missing.
Wow.
Shrapnel all over his body. Spent about a year in Walter Reed Hospital. He's still alive, but he's a complete disabled veteran.
Dang.
So if those 2 guys would have come on and went with me to the Air
Right.
Force, their whole life would have been different.
That is crazy.
But the guy beside of Curtis lost his life. On the passenger side,
Yeah.
Curtis was in the middle. So that's in the book, but I thought I'd open it
Yeah.
up with the book, and it's called An Unforgettable Ride
And you talk about all that?
by Bill McDaniels, and it's in the book. And by the way, I still have copies of it that if you don't have the money to buy it, I'll give it to you. And after you start reading it, you will not put it down, because
awesome.
it's a really good book. And Harris Pestitas, the president of the University of South Carolina, Todd Alzenberger, my attorney, my law, my doctor, all of them wrote testimonials, and they got to read the book
Sweet.
first. So they told me once I started reading, I just had to read it.
Yeah.
I just want to see what was next.
and
So-
it's called An Unforgettable Ride by Bill McDaniels.
By Bill
if
McDaniels.
anyone's
And this was
going to
back-
look it up online.
We started the book in about mid 2018, and we finished the book in 2020, and that was right during the pandemic. So I never really got a chance to go out there.
Talk about it. or
Talk
go anywhere,
about it.
Yeah.
But I did do the book in the very best of. In this book right here, if you look at it, the pictures are in color, the paper. There is so much
High
to it.
quality.
There's so much to this book that you say, I don't know about it. Do I want to write another? Yes, I
Yeah.
want to write another.
Yeah.
But I was thinking maybe after 75, most people would like to have some inspiration to not
Right.
go home and sit on the couch
Yeah.
and do something with their life, because they have a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
And it's just wasted. But you know, I've just shared this morning. The people in your life, if they do not know how to smile, they need to take a course on teaching people how to smile.
Yeah.
I second that. That's big.
Randy does smile training with
I
our
call
team.
it smile training with staff.
Smile training. By the way, Suzanne has opened an ice cream shop, and it's
Yeah.
called Scoop of Heaven out there on
Yeah.
Spears Creek.
Suzanne
And I was telling her, don't hire anybody that don't know how to smile.
Yeah.
All the kids, they gotta smile.
I love that advice.
It's got to be happy.
They
It's a
think
happy
they're
place.
smiling, but they're not.
They're
Right,
not. They're
right.
not. They just enjoy what they
Right.
do.
Yeah.
And my mother had one of those contagious smiles, and I dedicated the book to her because if she had 10 cents and you needed it, she'd give it to
Wow.
you. And that's who, I admire so much because mother worked so hard, and she supported all of us, 5 kids. I think she probably made less than 50 cents an hour. This was probably in the early 50s. She folded T-shirts at a textile mill.
Yeah.
She walked a good solid mile down a dirt road to get to a ride every morning. And the winter months, rainy weather,
Bundle up.
it does not matter.
Yeah.
If it was raining, she walked.
Yeah.
And, if it's 30 degrees outside, she walked a mile just to get somebody to pick her up. And then she'd walk a mile after working all day. So she was quite a lady. And I think Tracey got to be with her a little bit. And you might want to tell a story about Mother.
I just remember her house, and you walk in, and it smells like green beans and rice.
Did she have a
That's what it smells like.
She was a great cook.
Did she have a dog? I picture a wiener dog.
No,
No dog?
no dog. No
Really?
cats, no dogs.
Not a pet person.
Not a pet person.
Okay.
No, pets could not come in the house. I'm the right opposite of that. But
Do you-
He is.
Well, I want to say, I keep thinking about that Vietnam story when he went down the tunnel. We did in 2009, my wife and I it was a chiropractic mission trip. It was kind of like Doctors Without Borders,
Right.
but for chiropractors. And they did a tour. We were in Vietnam, and they did a tour of the tunnels that you would go in, and they were so tiny.
oh yeah,
They said you can go walk in there if you want, and I couldn't. I had to duck and go sideways, and I still couldn't even move. So the idea of somebody saying go down through that tunnel and see if it's booby trap, I think I would have ran the other direction. It was scary with them telling me just go a foot inside there and stand in there.
Well, in the Air Force, you were a recruiter, and I think that's what really kind of opened his eyes in the possibility of going into the automotive industry.
Well, I always had just a love for cars because, of course, in the 50s, we had no way of entertainment. We had no toys. We took a milk can and wadded it up and used that as a ball and a tobacco stick, because I grew up on a farm.
Yeah.
And played ball with a tobacco stick, that was the bat, and a tin can.
Jeez.
Wow.
Perspective, eh?
Yeah, but we played the game, listened to a car's engine
Yeah.
come down the road, and guess what kind of car it was,
Wow.
and what the engine was. It a V8 or was it a high performance V8? Back then they had a 427 and a 327, and 283 in the Chevys and things like that. And, so we would guess.
Yeah.
But I always had just a love for cars. But after college, but before I got out of service, when I was doing in service on Shepherd's Air Force Base in Wichita Falls, Texas, I was like an inside recruiter because the Air Force did not want to let you out early. So after 2.5 years of the 4-year assignment, if you wanted to re-enlist, they paid you full, like you've been in for 4 years, and they most averaged $10,000 to $12,000 bucks. That's what you would get. And of course, let's put it in perspective. A new car back then, you could buy a new one for $25,000 to $3,000, a brand new one.
Really?
And of course, the first question I would always ask after I got them to sign up and raise their hand, because I'd swear them back in the whole 9 yards. What's the first thing you're going to do without money? And everybody told me they were going to buy a car.
Yeah.
So I went to the local Chevrolet Pontiac Buick store, and I met with the dealer. I never will forget it. He had like a saloon on the second level. So after 5 o'clock, everybody could come and start drinking.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Love that.
And Mr. Mathis, he was a guy, and I walked in. I said, I want to speak to Mr. Mathis, and okay. And Mr. Mathis met with me.
No kidding.
And I said, when I do, I reenlist people, and they've got 10 to 12,000, and what I would suggest we're doing, how about paying me $100 for everybody that I bring
send over.
to you?
Yeah.
Not send, I would bring them.
You walk them over.
Oh yeah, I would get them. I wasn't letting them go. Okay, so everyone would go pick out a car, and then the Air Force was paying me $241 a month. I was making $1,000 a month selling cars.
Oh my goodness.
Now, you got to understand the time, but
Yeah.
after that, after I got out, I went to college, and then after college, I said, I'm going to stay in cars because I was still selling cars while I was going to college.
Right.
So in '75, I decided that I'm going to stay in cars because back then, part-time in '75, I was making $11,000 a year selling cars, and that was like $7,500 what everybody else got paid
Yeah.
to do ordinary work. And I said, if I do this thing right. So American Express sent me a credit card. I still have it to this day.
No way.
And it's 50 years old. They sent me a $5,000 credit line. And I thought they were crazy.
Yeah.
So I took the $5,000 and I went and bought $5,000 worth of clothes.
Like suits and stuff?
Yes. So there's a madness behind.
That's a ton then.
That was a ton.
I mean, that's
So I was the best.
that's two
That's
cars.
2 cars worth of clothes.
I was the best dressed person that
Yeah.
sold cars in High Point, North Carolina.
That's smart though.
And, if you want to be, I hate to say the next thing, because people judge people.
Right away.
Yeah. And we would go to car shows, and people would come up to me and say, Mr. York, how you doing? I said, no, that's Mr. York right there. And he never even hardly combed his hair.
Yeah.
And he was dressed so-so. And Mr. York finally started dressing real nice because he was so embarrassed.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's been my trademark. And people ask me today, why do you dress the way you do? I say, you have to dress where you want to go.
Yeah. I've never seen you not in a suit, except for golf. That's the
Yeah,
only time.
The only time.
How many suits do you have now? Do you have a lot, like full closet full of suits?
You could say so. They're north of 100, but it's okay.
Jeez. That's awesome.
But I give them all away.
Yeah.
I keep usually the 50 best that I'll wear and give
Yeah.
25 or 30 away pretty much every year.
So you've been in the car game for 50 years. When did you? So you started selling, and then when did you know I want to own? I want to have a dealership. And what does that even process look like? If somebody wants a dealership, I don't think it's an easy. Hey, I'm just going to open up, in the next couple of months.
I worked 10 years selling
Yep.
and 10 years in management, and the manufacturers started looking. And then there was an opportunity in Columbia, and they called me Christmas of '88.
Like Honda or Audi, Acura.
The guy that was the zone manager really liked what I was doing. I run a very efficient store, and they just, wow. And they had the store in Columbia. The first 4 months it opened, they lost $625,000.
Whoa.
And he says, are you interested? I said, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I came to Columbia. I bought into the store. In 18 months, the guy died.
The other
Whoa.
The
owner.
Partner.
The partner.
Wow.
And then I spent about 6 months, and the store is in the book,
Yeah.
trying to figure out how I could own the store.
Yeah.
And so I finally got everybody to approve the dealer application with Honda, which is Acura, no Honda.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was waiting on a floor plan line of credit, and they came up and and gave it to me. And of course, that was the key to getting the franchise. But you are definitely going to have to read the book because there's a
Get the
whole lot.
details.
There's a bunch of details there. And I
Well,
was
also, I'm sorry to interrupt,
no
but
problem.
the process then is kind of different than the process
Yeah.
now.
oh yeah. I meant the process now is a tough road.
Like that's what I was wondering. Like, say there's just let's just say Mark Cuban goes, I want to start opening up, Audi dealerships. Can he even do that, or do you have to work in the industry? Do you have to have people? I mean, what's the? It's not just a money thing, right?
You would be a fool to go into the car business and not know anything about it.
Really? Yeah, I believe that.
I meant the Warren Buffett's in it, by the way.
Oh, really?
He owns over 100 dealerships, but I mean he knows how to attract the right people to run them.
Right.
He personally does not. I get the day to day.
Right.
He still don't know anything about the business. He just knows that he would like to be there.
Yeah.
But to give you an example today, for any kind of decent store, let's say a mid-market like I'm in here in Columbia, it would take about $10 million to buy that franchise.
Wow.
Okay. Plus, then you got to have working capital of about $3 million, and then what you're going to do for land and building.
Right.
And the building's cheapest one's 10 to 12 million. The land is $6 million. Unless you had a lot of money, you could never get into it.
Right.
Because the bank is not going to loan you with no track record. But today we've been very blessed. I have 8 stores now. The Acura, Volkswagen, Subaru, and Porsche here in Columbia, and then Ford in Orangeburg is our latest one, and then we have Acura and Audi in Charleston, and then Acura in Atlanta, and we would like to probably double the size of the group in the next 5 years. That's our mission.
That's awesome.
So that's where we're at.
Wow. And so from 1 to 8 took how many years? Because it sounds like you're going from 8 to 16 in 5 years.
Well, yeah.
Wait, but that's been my experience. Is that going from 1 to 2 is really hard, and then going from 2 to 3 is still hard.
Right.
But then I would imagine, or at least in our experience, the idea of going from 3 to 4 is easier, and 4 to 5 because you have to build in systems and you have to have the key people and you have the experience.
It's called structure.
Structure.
And that's where we're at now. We have spent the last 2 years organizing ourselves for the next level of growth, because if we have not established the level of management now, we don't want to go buy a store and then pull managers out of the store to go help us set it up. Now we have a whole level of management that is their reason for existence, is to go expand. Okay.
Wow.
So we take the jet, fly them all in, and stay a week, 2 weeks, whatever we need to do, and then we implement our policies and our procedures, and we go to the next one in that. And of course, we have some very talented people that they even have notebooks of exactly what to do when an acquisition takes place. So it's not, okay, we bought it, now what are we going to do? And then we know what to do immediately, how to put the deal packages together. So that's where Tracey comes in now. She is the next generation. And when I say she's the vice president of operations, she's control of all 8 stores and the day-to-day. And my job now is to go buy those 8 stores or get them somehow. Yes. So that's my job.
As her eyes get big. I'm curious from Tracey's perspective, because I have 2 daughters too, and the idea of them working with me in the future sounds amazing. But I also know that the idea of just like, here's another store, here's another store, here's another store seems like a lot to kind of be in charge of, right?
It is, because it increases the number of people that actually need you. But when you're a servant leader, that's just part of it, because that's that's the leadership
Yeah.
methodology that I go by. Is I'm a servant leader. I'm not there to micromanage you. I'm there to help you, and whatever you need, give me a call. If I can't do it, I know a guy. It's kind of that operation. But I am very fortunate also to have my older brother Rob, who's based out of our Charleston stores. He's the chief operating officer, and we can bounce all of this off of each other, and then spread it through that level of management that Mr. McDaniels was referring to, because we've got really strong leaders in our organization now that just have all this knowledge that's incredibly helpful and can really make our team excel.
What's a day in the life look like for you then? So do you have like a time where you're dealing with emails? Do you have meetings? Like what does an average day look like?
I start off with emails.
Yeah.
And of course do those priority, but I only do that for a segmented amount of time because there's still some time for doing that actually has to happen. So I probably will not check back in with emails until about lunch. And is there any hot buttons that I really need to take care of there?
Yeah.
And then, there's the afternoon. Of course, looking in the evening. I'm also still answering texts at the same time, returning phone calls, helping managers where they need it. It's a little Gumby-ish sometime.
Well, servant leadership sounds tough to me. Can you talk about that? What is that? Why did you decide to go that direction of leadership?
Because, when we've gone through the interview process and we've gone through the training and bringing the highlights of this individual and how they can succeed in this field, I want to help them expand in what they are good at. It just so happens to work in our field. So that's why I say servant leadership.
Now, you were a dancer at one point.
Yes.
Not exotic, but
Correct.
what type? Well, not that I know of, I guess.
Correct. Not exotic.
The discipline of that, how long were you a dancer for?
Since I was 4 until 28.
Do you see any of the discipline of putting, because that's a long time to dance.
It is.
Did that carry into what you do now? Like, have you pulled anything from the dancing world to leadership world?
What I can say is, as far as dancing is concerned, is your posture matters.
Yeah.
Just like what he was talking about if people judge you just by your appearance, which I would hope that they don't, but
Everybody does. Yep.
It's a matter of how are you walking through the door? Are you walking through the doors in a slouching? What does that say about your own confidence? So I would say that's how something along that line is carried with me. I will say that theater, which I was also in, that has helped me more.
Like acting. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you guys, I imagine you guys have a lot of sales scripts and different things that you would train people on. What sort of sales training do you guys go through or send your teams through?
It goes through our management staff who has already been there, done that. They're explaining it to our sales team. It's a matter of the templates that we already have in our customer relations management system. How can we also make it a little more comfortable when you're actually talking to someone one-on-one? How does that translate when you're answering in a text conversation? I think spelling is important, but that's me. It might just be because I'm 51 and spelling is important. Making sure that you can establish a relationship, but also not being too overfamiliar. So don't call this customer that you've just met bud or
bro.
Bruh. Yeah.
Bruh. Yeah. Don't be that overfamiliar.
I am very curious in your process with that, because my experience is the same, and you alluded to this too, is that most people when they come into a professional career, they dress terribly, they dress way too casually, and they don't smile, and for the most part, I think they think it should be easier than it is. So here's my here's what I'm handing in, and there's spelling mistakes, and the dates are wrong, and 19 mistakes, and the idea that this is gonna work, and then at some point I'm sure you have to, because I know I have to do this, be like, this is unacceptable, and you can either go fix it and be better or not, and not be here.
Well, you also want to give them the tools to say, okay, I understand that you're using spell check. Spell check is not necessarily your best friend all the time. If you're trying to say there in their possession, it's T-H-E-I-R instead of over there, T-H-E-R-E.
Right.
Yeah. Make sure that you're proofreading before you hit send.
Yeah. It's so true. I mean, because when the details are off, you think there's just so many other things that you're getting screwed on.
Exactly. Don't plant that seed.
Yes, because any sort of confusion, you just want to start like backing, or the customer wants to back up, where it's like, something feels off, and it's the word there.
Tom, I want to bring something up, and Randy, most people, they want to start something. They have great aspiration, especially in your 20s. But one of the things I like to ask, if I'm involved in an interview at all, how do you see yourself in 5 years or 10 years? Or do you want to be still in the car business? And if they tell me, no, I'm going to do this, well, the interview's over. Because the amount of money it takes us to get you, like we've got 3 people right now at Porsche that's away from the dealership, and it will probably cost us $25,000 time we get everything back to the dealership. Waste of personnel, the trip, flying them out, hotel. Porsche don't pay for none of it.
Right.
Okay? And we may spend, by the time we get a brand salesperson, say at Porsche, we may spend $125,000, $30,000 on that individual just to get them to say, I am a professional person. And it will probably take us, to be quite honest with you, 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And the amount of money that we invest in these people. So if we don't have a commitment to it, we're done. We want people that really would like to have a career. But the other thing that I can put you on the spot, and Randy on the spot, you spend all the money to go to college, get your doctor's degree and so forth, and start practicing. How many patients did you have when you first started? The first month, how many patients did you have?
Did I have the first month?
Yeah.
I remember having 96 new patients in the door.
The first month?
First month. But that was because I put in an extensive amount of training and what we called the black hole, which was going around and meeting, shaking hands, out and doing health screenings.
But how many people do that?
Very few. That was the difference.
That's the difference.
Yes. Having a coach, like you just even having a coach at that age.
But I try to explain to people, this is an excellent career field, especially the female. Us males in the car business, we do not stand a chance against a great female. Because you know what? A female to another female, a female does not trust a man to start with. Period. There's a trust factor. And it's a little hard to buy anything from somebody who's not trusted.
Yeah.
The female to another female, the first 30 minutes they talk about, where did you get your hair done? I love your hair.
Yes.
I love your nails. I love your shoes. Where'd you get your outfit from? And it's about 30 minutes. You could say, would you like to have Mr. McDaniels to take over? Oh, no. Tracey and I are just fine.
Yeah.
But that's why in the early 50s, 95% of the realtors were men. Today, it's 5% men and 95% women.
Right.
Because they understand the kitchen and the bathrooms.
It's a good point.
You know.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing in starting a career out. If you do not intend to say, I'm good and I'm going to make the very best of this, but I do understand the ups and downs. My first year in Columbia, in 89, we had Hugo to come through. It wiped out everything I made in 89. In 90, Desert Storm. We're going to war. We haven't been to war since World War II.
Yeah.
We're going to war. And 91, 16% interest on cars. 16%.
Wow. Jeez.
So I had 3 strikes going against me to start
Yeah.
with, but I was bound and determined that
Yeah.
that was not going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's the perseverance that you have to have, the consistency day in, day out. If you're not committed to that, then you will never be successful.
100%.
You're going to run here, there, and here's my other theory I got. You have about 25 years to really do what you're going to do.
Yeah.
If you don't, you'll be fine, but you'll live on Social Security the most of the rest of your life, okay?
Right.
Because you're going to retire early and all that stuff. And if that's what you want, that's fine. But, you know, I don't think that's the American way.
No.
We're a capitalist country. And, you know, I'm leading you right into where I want to talk about our giving back to the community. Tracey shared with me just this week or last week that we supported 32 charities this past year in town.
Wow.
Okay. And then this year also, I've started the Bill McDaniels Foundation.
Is that new?
That's brand new.
Oh, wow.
And most of our money is going to be given to children to fight cancer. The Children's Hospital at Prisma Hospital will probably be a big part of our event, but also the patients who have cancer.
Right.
The kids with cancer. You go, the average stay right now in the hospital at Prisma is about 43 days for a child to stay in the hospital.
Yeah.
So where are you going to get food at? Where are you going to get things to happen at? We want to be a part of that. And right now, people think, they say to me, how greedy I must be. But no, I'm trying to leave a legacy that Tracey and Rob and Suzanne, they actually have something that I hope we leave enough money that they can, 100 years from now, that we'll, even after they're gone, we are still doing good work back in the community.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm fighting for now.
Yeah, no, that's incredible.
Yeah.
You know what's, I got something wild. So speaking of like when I first opened, I met you probably like a year or two into practice.
Yes.
And you said something to me, and I went and wrote it down on a piece of scrap paper that I literally still have to this day. And like, so, but it goes to like speak to like, I was trying to learn from anybody successful. So, and here's what you said, which I thought was brilliant. It was about buying cars. I wrote down Core 3 Bill McDaniels. It says, I want to make it convenient and easy for us to do business. That was one. Thought that was nice. 2 was, I want to respect your time and make things efficient. And then 3 was, I want to be transparent. And I wrote all 3 of those down. I was like, this is why you sell so many cars. And then I bought a car from you in 2013. I still have it from Acura.
That's too bad.
I know you guys have called to get it several times, but you were like, yeah, this will run for 200,000 miles if you take care of the engine, and it's at 150 some thousand miles, doing great. I mean, it still looks pretty new, but I just remember you saying that and thinking like, there's not many people, especially in the car world, that have any sort of mindset like that were just very simple. It was like, what are you going to argue about with those 3 things? And then the transparency of like every step of the way when we were doing business with you was very clear. There wasn't anything where I felt like, oh, he just pushed one past me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Which I think is the hesitancy in a lot. So from that moment still, like that's why when Randy was saying he knew about you guys, I tell everybody, if you're going to buy a car, go to you guys first. And even when I ended up getting a Dodge Ram, I still asked Tracey if you sold trucks or if you could get a Dodge for me.
I can get you a Ford.
At the time when you were looking, we did not have Ford yet.
So I still text Tracey and anytime there's people looking for cars.
And you know, Tom, what you wrote down is still today, that's what we go by. And more important now than ever is convenient. How quick, how simple,
efficiency,
how fast
yes.
is the efficiency. And we're willing to adapt anything.
Right.
And you know, I thank God for Tracey and Rob because they're much smarter than me. Okay? Much smarter. Yeah. And I am so proud of this young lady, what she's accomplished and how she's conducting her life, her personal life. And she got my beautiful smile and just know how to smile and
Yeah.
make everybody happy around there. And then Rob, you know, he is just really a smart young man. And, well, he's turning 58. So,
58.
yeah, 58.
Oh gosh, how old's Tracey?
I'm 51.
51.
Oh, she said it. I didn't.
Yeah,
I mean, you
Oh,
look
I-
25.
I hold no barns. I mean,
right.
I don't care. I'm 51. I own it.
But it's still about convenience.
Yes.
And, you know, we call it the McDaniels difference. I don't ever care about being the biggest dealer or the highest volume.
Right.
I just want to do it right. And that's more important to me than anything.
Yeah.
And so, anyway.
Well, and when you do it right, the amount of people I've told, the amount of, like, you just think of it carries over. And you said something else around that time. Lindsay and I were pregnant, and it was like, well, you were like, in 2 years when you need your next car, just, you know where to come. And it was because you were like, life changes constantly. So I could sell you a car today, and in 6 months, you need something different.
Right. You might need a bus. Where are you going?
That's exactly it.
I had to do that right.
And it was just like, yeah, because if anybody gets sketched out in the car process, it's like you might have pulled one over on somebody, like if somebody forces a sale on you, but they'll never buy again,
No.
And so I just appreciated that about you guys during that whole process.
You know, Tom, in the business now, we do not have a used car manager. We let a computer decide to value the car because it's smarter than any human.
Right.
Okay.
Just punch in the details.
And we go out 250 miles and we figure out how many cars in the market.
yeah.
And if you're not one or two as far as being the best price, the phones don't even ring.
Really? Yeah.
And let me share this with you that we're being taught. Our buyer, over 80% of them, the internet pulled them in, or our website,
Yeah.
something, they have gone and visited us before they even come in. They even know before they come in that we have the best price
Right away. Yeah.
right away.
Yeah.
So it makes things really simple. If you come in now, I'm not concerned about the price. Let's see if you like the car.
Right,
Let's
right.
see if it's going to
Find the
fit
right
your
fit.
need. If everything's good. And then you ask me for a discount now, and I say, well, Tom, we have the best price. And by the way, we know that you went on the internet.
Right.
So I only have one question. When do you want to take delivery?
Right.
I mean, it's so simple. The haggling.
Yeah.
And people think you have to be some slick Willie to go into car business, but the internet has stopped all of that. If you have high prices, the phone is not going to ring.
Yep.
The walk-in traffic that says I want to buy a car hardly don't exist. Maybe 20% of our business is a walk-in, but it truly, they've either been referred or they went on some site, they saw some advertisement, they know what they want. They don't come to have coffee with us. They come to buy a car, and that's why
You fill the needs of what they want.
Let's make this thing a simple process.
Yes.
And then let's see how efficient we are in getting you in your car and out.
Yes.
And that's
the key.
That's the key.
What I'm curious from a marketing standpoint, and maybe you guys know these numbers, what budget do you guys put together for like yearly marketing? Because in the car space, billboards, commercials, print media, like it's everywhere.
TV don't exist.
It really doesn't.
No, right? I agree. As far as like commercials and stuff nowadays, yeah.
You're just wasting your money.
Right.
Because you're still trying to go to the mass.
Right.
Now we dial it in to who is buying. We have the ability to figure out who our customer, where they're coming from, where they live, their buying habits.
That's cool.
We have all of that.
Yeah.
And, streaming, the digital world. I mean,
Is it a certain percentage of like, or what? How do you guys determine the number that you want to put out there monetarily? Because there are certain things that maybe like even like something for USC or something where you want your name on it, but you don't know return, and is it fit in the budget kind of thing? Because I always wondered that for us, even like we do about 5 to 10% of our gross we try to put back into marketing is kind of how we think of it. But I didn't know if in your industry, if it's different or if it's similar. Or,
We
Well,
dissect every customer we get every month.
We do.
Dissect it.
And it also depends on manufacturer programs. They're different.
what they're
all
offering.
They're all different.
that's right.
So a budget for one store may be vastly different than a budget for another store.
Sure.
It's not cookie cutter anymore.
It's really not.
Yeah. Okay.
And those people you see screaming and hollering on TV,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always wonder that. Is the car space pretty, like, is everybody pretty friendly, or are there, like, some butting heads
I
in
will
the
say
dealership
this,
world?
There's not a dealer in this town that if they call me and ask me for help, that I would not help.
Nice. That's awesome.
Period.
Yeah.
That's what some of the dealers in town want you to think, and that's the way they portray themselves.
Right.
But they're pretty friendly, to be
Yeah.
quite honest with you. But I just don't think it's not dog eat dog out here. I mean, that's not the way. If one of my competitions, they call me, hey, what can I do to help? And that's the attitude I take.
Yeah.
There, you know, right now, I don't chase money.
Yeah.
I chase how I'm going to leave this earth.
Yeah.
The legacy of Bill McDaniels. That's what I'm chasing right now. It's not the dollars or anything like
Yeah.
that. Because really and truly, I'm going to stretch you just a little bit. It's God's money.
Right.
It's not your money ever. Because when you die, you take nothing with you.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing you can remember when you're passing your last breath is what you left behind.
Right.
If you left nothing behind, you're going to be sort of hollow.
Yeah.
I didn't
That's
leave-
good.
I just took a life and wasted it. I don't want to waste how I leave this earth.
Yeah.
That's right now.
That's good.
And I'm curious where you see the car world going in the future, because the internet, because you started before the internet,
Oh, yeah.
and right, it was
seen it.
classified
Way
ads,
before the
and
internet.
and now you're using AI to determine how much you're gonna buy or sell a used vehicle for, and the electric world's coming by storm, and I think we thought that we might be in like hovercrafts by now. At some point, you know, we were watching the Jetsons 30 years ago thinking
be.
maybe that's where we would be. But I'm curious where you see it going in the next 10, 15, 20 years.
I'll let Tracey
Tracey.
do that, and then my perspective as well.
Within the next 10 to 15 years, when manufacturers are doing planning, they do have to plan out for research and design
Yeah.
5-10 years down the road and go ahead and allocate that money as spent without changing their mind. So where EVs are very, you were saying taking it by storm, but I still think it's going to be inched. it's still inching along. As far as they still have to be adaptable too. A lot of the buzz feed right now is, instead of all of the EVs being planned, what are you going to do with hybrids? Because maybe I would be down with a hybrid. I'm not necessarily ready to jump in the ocean and go swimming with this EV. I still want a little bit of the internal combustion engine and the benefits of a battery. So some manufacturers are starting to
Focus
step
on
back
that,
a little
yeah.
bit, because I don't know if you remember hearing this about 3 years ago. They were saying this manufacturer was only going to sell EVs after 2030. This manufacturer
Yeah.
was starting to jump on board, and then you saw them rolling that back.
Yeah.
So it all depends, and a lot of it is customer demand. What are the customers demanding, and how can they shift to meet market demand?
Right.
Well, I always thought the idea of going to 60 or 80 or 90 miles per gallon in a vehicle was going to happen. Like 30 years ago, I was getting 24 miles to the gallon in my Mazda Protege when I was just my first vehicle, and thinking like, oh, in 20 years, every vehicle is going to be 80 miles per gallon. It hasn't. My truck gets 19 to 20.
Yes, it does, because it's so heavy.
Is it? Well, so is that like a conspiracy thing that I think they're not they're not making the vehicles as efficient as they could be, or is that just basic physics?
There's still when you think of a vehicle, you can't just think about it for the American market, for the U.S. market. It's a
Right.
global company, so they have different criteria for each country that they have to come together and meet. And just because we're thinking, okay, why isn't my car automatically, even with fuel meeting 60 miles per gallon? It might just mean because we also want a heavier vehicle. We need to have the
Right.
bigger engine, not the smaller engine. Is there a twin turbo involved? Is there what chip is going into the engine, and how much did that chip cost in the first place? But that has that has to resonate with a dollar amount and how much you're still willing to spend for that car.
In order to get the
In order to
increased
get
gas
it.
mileage. I get it.
Yes. So we still want a big space. We still want, a heavy vehicle that would be built for a safety crash test
Yeah.
rating. We still want all the fun tricks and toys inside of it, some more than others. Maybe we need to haul something. It's not necessarily one size fits all.
That's true.
So let me take another spin. Tracey alluded to it. The manufacturers are really caught in a bad position right now. There's two manufacturers, which I'm not going to name, that's on the verge of bankruptcy, and they're major players.
Oh,
I would predict in the next 10 years, we may lose a third of all manufacturers out there that's in the business.
wow.
Because they did not, I got to say this correct, they did not build a cars that the market wants. They built a car and says, you're going to buy it or else. And the American people will not do that. They have been spoiled.
Yeah.
I thought maybe it would have been a better path, would have been really introduce the hybrid in a very nice, positive way. But with electric cars, there is a demand for electric car, but it's probably never going to be no more than 10% of the market. There is several manufacturers right now that have decided to be really smart. We're going to build an electric car under $30,000, maybe even $25,000. So that's where this market is going. But the manufacturer couldn't listen to the people because the government regulations and the government was dictating to them what they were going to do. And it's like, oh my gosh, there's some conspiracy theory out here, with the U.S. dollar and the Bitcoin and all like this. What if the government, we wake up one morning and the government says, all your dollars have become Bitcoin?
Right.
Then think about the consequences of that. The government would know every penny you have.
Right.
You never could have any extra money put away. They would control it, and they could actually tell you, yep, you can use your money to buy a car, but you're going to have to buy what we tell you to buy.
Right.
So I'm at the next 10, 15 years, this Bitcoin and other type of, currency, we don't know what they're going to play, how big a role they're going to play. AI, we don't know what AI is going to do. But at the end of the day, if you just listen to the people, they will tell you what to build, how to build it, and even how to price it. Because if you overprice it, they won't buy it. If you price it right, they'll buy it.
Yeah.
So, there is, Tracey will live to see the day that the changes that are coming to the automotive industry is going to be staggering. The one thing that we're going to do, we're going to try to adapt. We will never run from changes, because without changes you cannot grow. You become stagnant. But I want our organization to be out there, and they embrace changes. Don't say it won't work until you try it. And so we're going to be very open-minded, but it's going to be a ride. I hope I live long enough to see some of these things, but I would imagine a lot of us will be in miniature helicopters that we will take off from our house. Because, you know, this time of year especially, you get a lot of hand signs laid on you. People are in a hurry. They don't want to be aggravated.
Hand signs.
Yeah, and, you know, it's so. You know, if you go out here, the traffic is horrendous out here.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the future holds. But I hope I'm around to be a part of it.
Yeah.
That's what I hope. Yeah. But I'm ready for change. Whatever you tell me.
That's cool.
The people have to tell me. If you listen to your people, they will tell you what you need to do.
And you're right, because the idea of somebody telling me what I should buy drives me, or I don't like being told anything what to do.
Americans
ever.
don't.
And the idea of someone being able to just turn off my vehicle, that does scare me too, because my wife had she didn't have the parking ticket, or it was a speeding ticket. She didn't get it. Somebody else got it. The government somehow screwed it up, and it was on her license. And the idea of trying to get it taken off because it wasn't her, it was like, you're going to spend the next 3 years trying to do this. Yeah. And I was like, the same thing would happen if they could just turn off people's vehicles. Yours is off, yours is off, yours is off.
They can do that.
Right now they can.
Right now.
Wow.
Right now they can do that.
Yeah.
You can't turn off a Ford.
No. Not unless
Or a
it's
non-electric. They can't do an all diesel.
I mean, they can turn. There's tracking devices on all these cars. It's like, it amazes me. If you ever get in an accident, tell the truth, because there's a black box on every car now, and it tells you the speed of the impact, where you're wearing your seatbelt, what music were you were listening to. It has it all.
Dang. Yeah.
So
just tell the truth.
Just tell the truth.
Never go wrong with the truth.
Yeah. And I mean, because it's there. They can retrieve that information. And cameras, if you look around, there's cameras on every corner now that's looking at everything you do. So, but anyway, I am open for the change. If you can imagine being born in 47, one I've seen already in my lifetime. It's just been, it's a great time to have been born. I met the first man on the moon, the internet. You don't know any of this. I watched Neil Armstrong walk on the moon for the first time at 60.
Allegedly, Bill. Allegedly.
No,
Tom is a big conspiracy theorist on that one.
But the bottom line, if you had been born in my generation, and I call the 50s and the 60s the era of innocent.
Yeah.
And it was just a really everybody was united. The biggest problem we have today is we're so divided. Yeah. And we should not be divided. We should be Americans and try to stop being something else other than American.
Right.
Because God made us all, and he made us all for a purpose, and he made us all to come to earth to influence somebody's life.
Yeah.
And so why are we so divided? I don't know, but it's the people out there that preaches division, and there's people out there wanting something for nothing always. I never wanted that. I just wanted to be able to be put in the game and play.
Yeah.
Let me have an opportunity. That's all I ever wanted. Yeah. And so
I love that. You guys have met some pretty cool people over the years, right? Besides me, who's the coolest person?
And Randy.
Like what? Yeah. Would Tiger? I feel like Tiger Woods has to be number one coolest person you've met. Or who else is in the category?
Well, I have met Tiger.
Yeah.
And spent an hour with him.
That's unreal.
But who's the coolest person you've ever met?
Oh,
Darius Rucker.
I have not
Steve
met
Spurrier.
Well, that was
I
a
mean,
neighbor.
you're too used to it. You know what I mean? As your neighbor.
Well, Steve was my neighbor for like 8 years.
Yeah.
And I know so much about Steve now. The one thing I will tell you about Steve, that he is a person of character. When he left South Carolina, he was at my house the night before, and I tried to talk him off that ledge.
Yeah.
When they paid him his contract, he had a contract for another couple of years on his contract.
Yeah.
They would have been in a position to pay him out. In fact, his last check, he went and gave it back to him. He says, I did not earn my check, and I do not want it.
Wow. That's cool.
So that says a lot about a person's
Yeah.
character. Okay?
Yeah.
And Steve Spurrier him and Jerry will always be one of my good friends, and will always love him. And we see him 2 or 3 times a year. They come down and we have dinner with them, and we'll still stay in touch. And Steve is a really cool person. But I have met Tiger Woods. I have now met a president a couple of times.
Nice.
I've met a couple of vice presidents.
Any rock stars, singers?
Oh, you met Willie Nelson.
Willie
Oh,
Nelson
yeah.
would be
Yeah,
cool.
Willie.
Oh, that is cool.
Willie.
Yeah.
In fact, I got Willie to sign his book, Roll Me Up and Smoke Me. Yeah.
See,
so-
that's a great title.
Yeah. And Steve Spurrier was with me at that time. And Steve said, hello, I'm Steve Spurrier. I'm South Carolina's football coach. He said, I know who you are, Steve.
Wow.
that was
cool.
That was a pretty cool cool evening with
That is awesome.
them. But probably my rock and roll person would have been Elvis Presley.
Did you meet Elvis?
Never met him. I
Oh.
saw him twice
That's
in
cool.
person, and it just goes to show you that if you get locked up inside, because he was like in a prison,
Yeah.
he couldn't go out. He couldn't do nothing, and the colonel would not let him do anything.
Yeah.
And at the very end, he didn't have much of a life. And I think once you're made it, you gotta know people and want to know people, and the more the merry.
Yeah.
I tell you, I hope the day that I leave this earth, the church is full and they're crying,
Right.
and everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, because I just want them to be happy, and knowing that I've met all these people throughout my life. And
Well-
I've met some pretty cool people.
Yeah, and the impact. Do you guys know over the years how much money total you guys have raised for cancer? Have any sort of idea, or even just charities in general?
It's over 9 million.
Wow.
Wow.
See, that's amazing. That's super cool. And I know you're big on working out. Are you still like putting in miles every morning on the treadmill?
No, I'm putting in miles on the asphalt walking.
That's good.
3 years ago, I had a little back surgery.
Yeah.
And, all the symptoms after the surgery went away, and when I stopped running, my ankles and everything, my
Achilles.
ankles and
Right.
feet. Boy, I tell you, running is, in my opinion, is not what it's cracked up to be.
Yeah.
Walking 2 to 3 miles a day, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
And and then also, I have a Swin Airdyne bike that I
Nice.
ride at least 3 or 4 times. I try to get it 3 or 4 times
Yeah.
a week. Sometimes I felt miserably at that, but then lifting, having a weight,
Resistance.
Yeah.
resistance and stretching. I do a lot of stretching.
Great.
And
Randy's a big weightlifter.
I do like weights.
You can't tell by his body, but he likes it.
Running. So I ran a marathon one time, and I was slower than Oprah.
Check it off his bucket list.
But I just did it once and done.
Are you still golfing at all? You get to golf?
Ooh.
I'd love to say that normally I play a couple times a month, and this year I think I played a whopping 6 times.
That's it in 2024.
Yeah.
And one of them was at his tournament.
Yeah.
One of those at my tournament, and I've had a pretty busy schedule. I was involved in building Suzanne's ice cream building.
Oh yeah.
Scoop of Heaven.
Scoop of Heaven.
I love that that's being developed out here, the Elgin area or Spear. Is it Spears Creek?
Creek,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
And we did that, and then my foundation building, I bought a building right there on Old Clemson Road.
Yeah.
And it's right there in the Forks. It's a big white building now. That's my foundation building.
Sweet.
So I've been renovating that place, and then next year, Grace Life Church, where I go to church.
Yeah.
Been going since just about, I think it's the second Sunday it opened with a new facility. It's been in town for a long time, but it's probably something that's really changed my life,
Yeah.
the church. And, you know, if you don't believe there's another life, that's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. But the church, I'm getting ready to do a project there that the building is 68,000 feet. And at first they fixed up 30,000 of it. And now, January, I start to do another 38,000 feet.
Dang.
Because the church, when I started there, they were doing 500 people a week.
Yeah.
And now it's over 2,000 a week.
That's awesome.
You know. And we have a youth program that meet every Wednesday night. It's 400 kids there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
It's amazing.
beautiful.
It's great.
And so I've got that project going, and also I've got to build a service department in Orangeburg for
Yeah.
the Ford store. And then I would
Renovate
like
that.
to build a new house.
You want to build a new house?
Yeah.
Really? I feel like you did recently, didn't you?
Uh,
Or
two-
moved or
2013,
okay.
I was, yeah.
Yeah. Are you? Is it true you're the project manager or contractor, or you organize these buildings? Because that's crazy to me too.
I am a licensed general contractor in South Carolina, North Carolina, and Georgia.
No kidding. So you're overseeing all the dealership buildings, all this stuff.
I build them all.
Dang. That's cool.
But,
All right.
That's
you
what
know, it's a little hobby.
Yeah.
most stressful hobby out there.
No, construction, you have to be careful and understand that there is no such thing as a time schedule
Or a budget.
or a budget. And in today's environment, you're absolutely correct, because the building materials, instead of lumber has come down, framing materials have come down, plywood has come down. But in the commercial side, which I'm involved in, that has actually steadily gone up 10 to 20% this year. They have plenty of it, but the prices are going up instead of down. So in a commercial project, you don't know if you're going to be on budget or not. There's everybody that you do a vendor with, they'll say this price is only good until the next price increase comes.
Yeah.
And you're subject to that price increase
Whatever it
afterwards.
is.
And it's easy to miss a budget 10%, 15% right now.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, in the buildings I build, that's some $500,000-$600,000. And that you can be stuck with as overruns.
Right.
Right.
But there's one thing I will tell you about the construction. If you screw it up, fix it now. Don't wait till you get it finished and say, I wished I'd have fixed it.
Right.
You cannot repair it afterwards.
Yeah.
And it's like people who build buildings down in a hole. I wish I'd have hauled in dirt and got it up,
Yep.
because there's water problems when you put it down.
Right.
Okay, so little stuff like that. If you make a mistake, you're gonna have them. And lines on a piece of paper don't mean anything to a set of blueprints. That is just for the banks and for you to think it's gonna look that way, because there's adjustments all the time.
Yeah.
There's adjustments.
Yep.
I call it fill adjustments that you have to do, because there's no electrical run, there's no HVAC run, and a set of blueprints where everything is going to go. You have an idea, but what does it do to that space once you get involved into it? But I don't build for nobody but myself, and I'm doing this for the church as well. But it's all no pay. I
That's
don't
cool.
want any pay. I
Yeah.
just love to be a part of a project that I know that I was part of. That's all.
So I'm curious what your advice would be. I love that Tom wrote down the advice that you gave him a long time ago. Working with your children, what would be your top 2 or 3 pieces of advice that makes it, I don't know what the word is, makes it last or makes it work? Because I know a lot of families where it doesn't work, and it seems like it's working great for you guys.
Well, first of all and foremost, you got to love your family.
Yep.
That's good. Yep.
Number one.
Number one. And number 2 for me is knowing how proud I am of Tracey and Rob, what a young lady this lady has become and what Rob has become. And I only wish that I'd have 5 or 6 kids instead of 2. But I just, these 2 kids, they were heavenly sent to me. And it's a little bit of odd the way they came, because I am Tracey's biological father. And, of course, her and her mother got divorced. And it was
you
not...
and my mother got divorced. You and my mother got divorced.
They got divorced early on in life, and huge mistake, by the way. And then I can't get into all the details, but the thing about it is how God put Tracey back in my life, is that she was in New York, working there, 9/11, and I told her to come home.
Wow.
Dang.
And, she says, what am I going to do? I said, you're going to work for me. and then with Rob, the second marriage, Rob was not my biological son, but I adopted Rob after the divorce, and he was 41 years old at that time.
No kidding.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I know. Yeah.
But I love both Rob and Tracey equally. And our family's not huge, but we just were together, and there's never no dispute nor fighting or getting mad with each other. And my advice is that you must love your family and look at it as the greatest gift that you're going to be given in life is your family. A person without a family, I feel very sorry for them. And there's a lot of families who they hate their brothers and sisters, and they hate one another. Hate is such a terrible word, but you go all the way through your life, and you spend most of your life hating people instead of loving people. And I'll tell you right now, Randy, I'm not ashamed. I love you. I love Tom.
Oh, I know you love me.
I just don't understand why people can't be together. And when we're united, we are a powerhouse.
Strong. Yeah.
Very strong.
Yeah.
But getting back to the kids, they are absolutely the greatest part of my life, knowing I got 2 great kids. And finally, Tom, I have got a lady in my life that we almost been together for 19 years.
Yeah.
I'm just so happy because she loves Tracey. She loves Rob. I mean, and her family's Italian family. They're a big family. And they don't know any different.
Suzanne's a powerhouse. I mean,
by herself.
Yeah.
You should get her to come here and let
know,
her talk.
for sure.
Yes. But, that brings so much joy to me knowing that Tracey, 2 years ago, I put her in charge of operations for the whole group. Rob, guys, I want you to go out and run these places because that's the only way you're going to learn.
Right.
And you got me here if you get into a bind.
Yeah.
And I think I got the last one of our managers straightened out that he wanted to bypass Tracey a lot and come straight to me. And I think last month I got him straightened out.
Nice.
If you ever come to me and you haven't talked to Tracey, we got a problem.
We got a problem. Yeah.
We got a problem.
That's good.
Good.
Yes. Because this lady is going to make the right decision. Do you know why I know? In her heart, I know what kind of heart she has, and she is going to have passion for the customer and passion for you as an employee.
Yeah.
And there's always happy ground that you can meet. And there's never been a problem. There's not a solution. But a lot of times people don't want to find a solution, period.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's every problem has a solution.
Yeah.
That's where I look at it.
You know, what I will say is that he accepts me for what I bring to the plate, just like he accepts Rob for what he brings to the plate. And he understands that I can't mimic him 100% of the time because
Don't
there's
want
still a lot of me in there.
Right.
But you know, I think that is one of the ways that this really works, is that we accept each other for all of our strengths and we can lean on each other for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I try to hire, Tom, all the people that's much smarter than me.
Yeah, that's the key.
But now I don't hire anybody anymore. Tracy hires them.
Yes.
But the bottom line, she said a mouthful.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody has talent. You know, God gives us all spatial talent. We just have to find it.
Yeah.
And most people never find it. But I know what Tracy's talent is. And I am so honored to know that I'm leaving everything to her and Rob
Right.
to move forward with their lives
It's awesome.
and be the greatest at what they can be. And Rob, he does not have the personality. Extremely smart, but she's got the personality and smart. And me, I'm just here. That's all. I'm along for the ride.
That's great. My last thing is, what do you both like to do for fun? Like, say you have a weekend off or a night off. What are you getting into?
Well, what is that off? You
Or
have
not
time
that you have off. Yeah.
Gosh.
Dancing, cooking, bowling.
Well, you know, I have Scott for cooking.
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
true.
I get at least
That is
you know,
nice.
2 really nice meals a week. But I mean, I would say playing with our dogs, but also being able to if we're able to travel, we just want to have fun when we travel.
Yeah.
Such as because I travel a lot for work anyway, and I don't see that as
Fun travel, yeah.
that's not fun travel for me. So when we took a vacation this year and went to, I think it was St. Lucia. Yeah, we went to St. Lucia. So
nice.
I got to scuba dive. I got to
Yeah.
play on the kayak, stand up paddleboard.
Yes.
That kind of stuff. That's
Love
fun.
that.
That's fun.
Bill, what are you getting into? Swimming in your Speedo? You a Speedo guy?
No. Jim Neighbors on TV. I saw him in Hawaii, and I never saw him other than on TV. And I saw him with a Speedo. It sort of.
That's great.
Hurt
It's
me
burned into you.
it's burned there. But it's hard for me. I haven't taken a vacation this year, by the way.
Wow.
But I feel like my time is so limited, what I got left, that I just want to make the most out of it. And what I also like is the fact that I see something and turn it into something that's brilliant that very few people can do. It's like when you walked into your building.
Yeah.
You said it's perfect.
Yeah.
You saw
Paint
the
on the walls,
possibilities.
new floor, new ceiling. Oh, it's going to look fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. But a lot of people can't see that.
Right.
Here's when I'll say this, and I'm going to get back to having fun. Most people cannot see past their hand. Mm-hmm. They make decisions. I don't know if I'm going to make that. My views is always 5 and 10 years out.
Yeah.
It's like buying land. If you want to buy land, I will guarantee you, and land is the safest and the best investment you can do. Once it's gone, it's gone. You can't go back.
Yep.
Land will appreciate in 10 years double.
Yep.
It's 10% a year constantly. It's going up.
Yeah.
And you have no risk.
Yeah.
but people don't understand that I should have bought this and I should have bought this.
Right.
And, that kind of stuff. But if you ask me what I do like to do, I like the charity events, the knowing that I get a lot of thrill knowing that we're making a difference in people's lives, that we're doing something that we don't want any attaboys, we don't want nothing. We just know in ourselves that we have done something well. If we do take time off, I like it to be a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and back home on Sunday and work on Monday.
Yeah.
I am a workaholic.
Yeah.
And I don't mind admitting it. I'm OCD, and I don't mind admitting that either. So I like things to be done right and in its place. But, 2 years ago, we went to Hilton Head with Carmela, my dog, and I would like to take him back just to relax with him because he had the best time running and jumping in the ocean. And, I think it goes back to he's like a kid for us.
Yeah.
And the enjoyment of experiencing something new. And it's just like Tracey and Rob seeing them grow. I mean, it's
Yes.
it's just so fascinating to see the growth.
That's great.
And what they're doing.
Okay, good stuff.
Great. My last question is, how can we support you or the listeners support you? What would be
Buy a car,
Yeah,
buy
if you
a
want them to
book.
come to your car, book.
Let's sell some
Grace
cars
Life
today.
Church.
Well, let me put it to you this way. How you could help us is to make sure that this message gets out today who we really are, that we are different, that we are not a typical car agency. We're here to help fulfill whatever needs that you may have. The other thing, if you'd like to buy the book, I'd love for you to buy the book. It's on the hard copy. It's like $19.95.
Amazon.
Amazon.
Amazon
Nice.
does not have the hard copy. They have the soft copy, and I think now it's $7.99.
Okay.
But this is the real deal here on the books. I do have a few hundred of those left.
Nice.
I give the money to the church anyway.
Yeah.
It's not a profit thing for me at all. That's helping. And, when we have charity events, if you would support the charity events that we're involved in, we'd love to have you. And I will promise you'll meet somebody at these events that will change your life and give you a new direction. And the last thing I want to leave you with is that we were given a gift this morning, that when we open our eyes, God has given us another day. And I can promise you, nothing today is going to make my day get bad.
Yeah.
Nothing, because I got another day.
I love
And that's why I'm so grateful that when I do wake up every day.
Yeah. I love that's great stuff. We made God's wake up list today,
Yes.
which is nice.
Absolutely. And
Always a good
and
thing.
we take it for granted. We take everything
Right.
for granted.
Right.
If you want to do something with your life, go help someone that
Yep.
needs help.
Yep.
That's the way I look at it.
That's
That
awesome.
brings me a lot of joy to knowing. And I'm going to leave that with, I'm going to give each one of you a gift card
Yes.
for Scoop of Heaven.
Yes.
Yes. Scoop of Heaven ice cream. Everybody loves ice cream.
Great.
So you can go support Suzanne out there.
Yes.
It's the best ice cream time in town.
And I'm going to see if they're smiling.
They're smiling.
They
promise
better
you.
be.
I promise you, they are smiling because that's part of the job description. Is
Perfect.
that you have to learn to smile. But anyway, I've got a gift card for you guys.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you.
And if you know of any child that would like some ice cream that don't have any money, you send them to our place and we'll give them ice cream.
Wow.
That's
great.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, this has been a great interview. Thank you guys so much for the time. We know that this has been highly anticipated. We've been trying to get you guys on the show for a long time. So thank you for that. Appreciate it.
And I
you.
might even come back when I start something new because there's no telling what I'm going to
Yeah.
Every
We
time you
want
write
you.
a new book,
You
we'll
let us
have you
know.
come back
there's
on.
definitely a new book coming.
Yeah, let's do it.
And I've got a copy for you and
Awesome.
Tom.
Thank you.
Okay.
We're here for the health of it.
For the health of it.